Sometimes the most shocking moments in combat sports happen when you least expect them. And Johnny Walker just delivered one of the biggest upsets of 2025 by completely dismantling China's Golden Boy on his home turf. In what was supposed to be Zhang Mingyang's triumphant homecoming celebration at UFC Fight Night in Shanghai, the Brazilian veteran instead turned the entire arena silent with a devastating second-round knockout that nobody saw coming. This wasn't just any victory. This was a career-defining moment that shattered one of the most impressive winning streaks in mixed martial arts. But here's where it gets controversial. Was Zhang's 12-fight winning streak actually as impressive as everyone believed? Or did Walker expose something that critics had been whispering about all along? Let me break down what happened for those new to MMA. Zhang Mingyang entered this fight as the heavy favorite, riding an incredible streak of 12 consecutive victories. To put this in perspective, the 27-year-old Chinese striker hadn't tasted defeat since way back in 2019. That's nearly 6 years of dominance. Even more intimidating, he hadn't even needed to see a second round since 2018, meaning he was finishing opponents so quickly that fights barely got started. Walker, on the other hand, was coming into this bout carrying the weight of 2 brutal knockout losses in a row. At 33 years old, many were questioning whether the flashy Brazilian still had what it takes to compete at the highest level. The odds were stacked against him, the crowd was hostile, and he was fighting in enemy territory during China's first UFC event in 6 years. And this is the part most people miss. Walker's game plan was absolutely brilliant in its simplicity. During the opening round, everything went exactly as expected. Zhang dominated completely, landing heavy shots that had Walker backpedaling and looking for an exit strategy. The Chinese striker was showcasing exactly why he had built such a fearsome reputation, and it seemed like another first-round knockout was inevitable. But Walker survived that storm, made it to the break, and completely changed his approach for round 2. Instead of trying to match Zhang's striking power, he switched to a tactical masterclass, calf kicks. For beginners, calf kicks target the lower leg muscle and can be absolutely devastating when executed properly. They can literally take away an opponent's ability to move and generate power. The first kick Walker landed was solid and clearly bothered Zhang. But the second one? That was pure magic. The kick completely collapsed Zhang's powerful striking base, and suddenly, the fighter who had been finishing opponents in the first round for years found himself crumpled on the canvas, unable to defend himself. Walker pounced immediately, delivering the ground-and-pound finish at 2:37 of the second round. "My kick is awesome, right?" Walker said afterward, and honestly, who could argue with that statement? Here's what makes this victory even more remarkable. Walker showed genuine class in victory, addressing the stunned Shanghai crowd in their native language and paying respect to his fallen opponent. A tough fighter from China, a lot of straight wins, he acknowledged. It's a really good experience to fight a guy that's very tough. You see, I'm durable. I got some punches in the face today, and I keep coming. And then I got him. This is MMA. Amazing, right? The rankings implications are significant too. Walker, who wasn't even ranked by ESPN, but sits at number 13 in the official UFC rankings, just defeated the number 14 ranked Zhang. This victory could catapult him back into title contention conversations. But the main event wasn't the only story of the night that raised eyebrows. The co-main event featured a clash that exposed one of MMA's most problematic issues, weight cutting. Brian Ortega, a 2-time featherweight title challenger, couldn't make the division's 146-pound limit, forcing the bout to be contested at a 153-pound catchweight against former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling. And here's where things get really controversial. Did Ortega's weight-cutting failure actually give Sterling an unfair advantage? Sterling completely dominated Ortega across all 5 rounds, winning by unanimous decision with identical 50-45 scorecards from all 3 judges. From the opening bell, it was obvious that Sterling's speed was too much for Ortega to handle. The statistics were embarrassing. Ortega landed only 7% of his strikes in the first round, connecting on just 2 of 28 attempts. For Sterling, This represented a crucial bounce-back victory. The former bantamweight king had seen his 9-fight winning streak snapped when he lost his title in 2023, and he needed to prove he could still compete at an elite level.
Moving up to featherweight, even at a catchweight,
Sterling looked revitalized and dangerous. For Ortega, however, this marked his second consecutive loss and 5th defeat in his last 7 fights. At what point do we start questioning whether a fighter's best days are behind them? The night also featured heavyweight action that could shake up the division's landscape. Sergey Pavlovich, ranked number 6 by ESPN, took control in the 3rd round to defeat 9th-ranked Waldo Cortez Acosta by majority decision. Pavlovich has now won 8 of his past 10 fights, with his only recent losses coming against current champion Tom Aspinall less than 2 years ago. But let's circle back to the real story here. Johnny Walker's stunning upset victory raises some uncomfortable questions that the MMA community needs to address. First, does fighting in your home country actually provide the advantage everyone assumes it does?
Zhang had everything going for him.
Crowd support, familiar surroundings, momentum from his winning streak. Yet he still lost decisively. Maybe the pressure of performing at home is more of a burden than a benefit. Second, are we putting too much stock in winning streaks without properly analyzing the level of competition? Walker's victory suggests that sometimes experience and tactical intelligence can trump raw momentum and home field advantage. And finally, here's the most controversial question of all. Was Walker actually the underdog in this fight? Or did the betting odds and public perception completely misread the situation? What do you think? Did Walker's victory expose weaknesses in Zhang's game that were always there? Or was this simply one of those magical moments where everything aligned perfectly for the underdog? Should home advantage be considered as significant as we make it out to be? Or does the pressure actually work against fighters more often than we realize? Share your thoughts, because this upset is going to have people talking for months to come.